Alright, so we finished up we finished up personal jurisdiction, and now we're moving on to subject matter jurisdiction. And so, if you recall from earlier in the semester, or maybe even last episode where I brought this up, we need to file a complaint, and then the person responds with an answer with a motion to dismiss for either lack of personal jurisdiction or lack of subject matter jurisdiction. Well, subject matter jurisdiction is when you're going to be going to a federal court, and there's two ways that a federal court can actually hear cases, and it needs to make sure that it follows underneath the subject matter jurisdiction. Well, how do you find that? There needs to be either diversity jurisdiction or a federal question jurisdiction. And so the next couple of days or weeks, tomorrow and probably Monday of next week, we're going to be focusing on these two principles. Well, we're starting on federal question jurisdiction, but lecture today was really an overview of how these two things can be met. Diversity jurisdiction. Let's back up just a bit. The Constitution in Article 3 talks about ways that the federal court can hear a case. And I've mentioned this is going to be through diversity or federal question. It doesn't use those terms exactly in the Constitution, but the text allows this to happen. So how do we find diversity jurisdiction? Well, that's when citizens from a different state brings a claim about a state issue against against a person from a different state. So, say I sue somebody, I'm in Iowa, I sue somebody in Nebraska. Well, that's a diversity jurisdiction, and that is allowed underneath Section 1332 of the U.S. Code, I believe, or statute, something like that, federal procedure. Any state issue is going to involve cases arising out of the state constitution, the state statutes in the code, and the state common law. Now, federal question jurisdiction, on the other hand, relates only to federal issues, and this is codified in Section 1331. So, diversity is in 1332, federal question is in 1331. All these things are going to arise out of the U.S. Constitution, United States Code, and federal common law. So really just trying to sum this all up, Article 3 of the Constitution allows for diversity jurisdiction or federal question jurisdiction, and that's how you find subject matter jurisdiction. Diversity jurisdiction comes from when people sue citizens from another state. You're going to apply state law, but it can be heard in a federal court, according to Section 1332. And then federal question jurisdiction is going to be related to federal issues, according to Section 1331. That's going to be U.S. Constitution, U.S. Code, and U.S. Common Law, and, of course, anything else that Article 3 of the Constitution says falls into that purview. And that is a very broad and a very quick overview of how one can find subject matter jurisdiction for a federal case. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Law Schoolers. Before I let you go, there are 4 things I want to say. The first thing is if you enjoyed these episodes and if you enjoyed the website, I would invite you to go and join Law Schoolers Pro. And you can do that by going to lawschoolers.com/join. It's a way for you to support us, but there's also a lot of features there that I think you will enjoy. Second thing is that nearly all of our episodes are unedited. The only ones that aren't are pre-law materials, and the reason for that is so you can actually see the legal material in its raw form as I'm learning it as well. The third thing is that the information contained in these episodes are specifically only for educational purposes. They're not to be used as legal advice, and with that, the fourth thing is if it is used as legal advice, we are not liable. That is, Law Schoolers is not liable for any legal outcomes. Thank you again for enjoying the show. Have a good one.